Welcome to Breakthrough Burnout, the bilingual podcast that helps you understand burnout better and gives you solutions to heal and live again. My name is Florence and I am a sophrology practitioner, coach, author, and burnout expert. In this podcast, on my own or in conversation with other specialists, in French or in English, I'll help you understand the full picture of burnout to better avoid it or recover from it. Breakthrough Burnout, the podcast that helps you understand and heal. Hello, I'm really happy to be with you again for this solo episode in English. And today I wanted to talk about sleep. Why is that, will you ask? Well, when talking about burnout, about fatigue, about feeling exhausted, of course we have to go back to basics. Rest. That's the number one cure, if you want to look at, basically. Are you getting proper sleep? Are you sleeping okay? Are you feeling refreshed in the morning? Are you resting enough? And do you know how to do all that? So what I'm suggesting for this episode is that we see in turn the different phases. So first, sleep before burnout, sleep within burnout, when you are in burnout itself, and then what happens later on. And to show you the differences there and also what potential solutions you may find. So first, let's talk about how you might be sleeping if you are at a moment where you could be in danger of burnout. If you did not have any sleeping problems before, of course, because if you were suffering from insomnia before, that will, of course, not make the picture as clear. But let's say you were sleeping fine up until recently, and then you find that your sleep is not as easy or not as refreshing as before. Maybe you wake up during the night, maybe you find it hard to fall asleep. But one of the main signs that I've found in people who could potentially go into burnout regarding sleep is that they wake up much earlier than before, with their brains already going over the to-do list at full speed, fully engaged, ready to go, raring to go. That's something I see very often. Suddenly, let's say they were waking up before around 7 a.m. and suddenly they're wide awake at 5 a.m. with the brain going. Oh, I have to do this. Oh, I have to think about that. All those lists suddenly appearing in their heads. And week after week, the sleep gets more and more disrupted and less refreshing, and it happens more and more. This is generally a sign that burnout could be just around the corner. This is one of the signs that should really worry you if that's how you're feeling, if generally speaking you're working a lot, doing a lot, and you have been doing so for a long time. And you have more or less sort of ignored maybe little signs here and there, feeling maybe a little bit more tired than usual, aches and pains, etc. And then your sleep starts to go wrong. And especially if you have this sensation of waking up in the morning, feeling really, energized, let's go for it. So that actually might not worry you. But if it happens too often, and there's a real sort of time difference there, it's much earlier than before, it's very often. And it's as if your brain was suddenly awake, more than fully awake. And even if it's very early, you might not feel like staying in bed because actually, well, you've got all that to-do list, to achieve by the end of the day. And you might even get up early to do that. That's not a very good sign because it means you're going to tire yourself even more, and this could accelerate the process that leads to burnout. So if you find yourself in such a phase, a few things you could do. First, the simplest one, take 1 minute breaks several times a day. I know it doesn't sound like much, it doesn't, sound like this could be very significant, but it is, because it will prevent the accumulation of fatigue. And it is very refreshing for the brain, even 1 minute. So, of course, if you can take longer breaks during the day, perfect. But if you're going at full speed now and you're in that sort of, nearly hyper state, then maybe taking breaks is not something you find very appealing or very easy to do. You may think that you have no time to do that. That's why 1 minute breaks are excellent, because 1 minute is not going to change what you have time to do or not time to do, but it will make a real difference for your brain, for your body. So several times a day, ideally something like every couple of hours, take a 1 minute break. And if you want to really see how that's done, well, I have made a video on our YouTube channel, which you could find very interesting. I'll put a link in the show notes. But definitely taking breaks, proper breaks, is really interesting. And if you want to take longer breaks, as I said, go ahead, do it. It's also about learning to listen in, to know how you're truly feeling, to know where your limits are, and to really seriously start thinking about respecting those limits. Also, it is important to learn how to fully disconnect before going to bed so that you can have a more refreshing sleep. The main thing here is to go unplugged, if I may put it this way. So no screen at all, any screens, at least 1 hour before bed if you're in that state that I have described. And it's a good advice, generally speaking, for everyone anyway. But I usually advise around half an hour for most people. But if you are potentially close to burnout, then 1 hour is definitely a much better idea. So no phone, no tablet, no computer, no nothing, definitely no work of any kind. Go for something that will feel relaxing, enjoyable, fun and calming, so that you can get to sleep in a much quieter way, because we're not machine. It's not like we can switch off a button and go from super busy to that's it, 1 minute later I'm ready to go to bed, I'm ready to sleep. That doesn't work that way. Some people are able to fall asleep very easily, sort of whenever and wherever, but if you're in a very high state of fatigue and a lot of work, that's probably not your case. So that is something really worth trying, to really disconnect fully, an hour before, and do something much more relaxing and nice and enjoyable. Now let's talk about your sleep if you are in burnout already. Well, there you may find that you're probably sleeping much more in terms of hours, but maybe it's still not feeling very nice. It's usually not very refreshing. A lot of people have recurring nightmares or even panic attacks during the night, and that's not really conducive to good sleep and to feeling refreshed, energized in the morning. One of the characteristics of sleep during burnout is that you're sleeping a lot more, but it's not a good quality sleep and you are not feeling refreshed. And that will go on and on for months, whatever you do. But if you want it to improve as quickly as possible, considering that you cannot hurry burnout recovery, but you can feel better, you can reduce the impact of panic attacks and nightmares, feeling a bit calmer, a bit better, then it's of course about looking for help in that direction. And it could be something that can, techniques that can help you learn how to relax more deeply, to calm anxiety and reset your sleep. I mean, I'm a sophrologist, so in sophrology, that's something we do very well. In French-speaking countries especially, there are loads of hospitals where they have a sleep clinic and where sophrologists will be part of the team to work on that. But it could also be if you have no sophrologist around you, or if this is not a technique that suits you, could be hypnotherapy, could be yoga nidra, finding the techniques that will work for you, that will help you learn how to relax. Maybe it's learning meditation, whatever feels right to, generally speaking, calm down, work on your anxiety levels, learn to reduce panic attacks and reset your sleep. Because once sleep goes wrong, as it were, it's very hard to go back to good sleep on your own. It's as if somehow the body, the mind did not know how to sleep well anymore. So it's sort of relearning that process. This is also a time when you're in burnout where you can take very long naps. Generally speaking, for most people, we don't advise a nap of more than 20 minutes because it would get you into deep sleep and you might wake up sort of in the middle of a sleep cycle, which is not a very nice feeling. You feel a little bit groggy. But here, first you have time, because the only thing, if I may put it this way, that you have to do, or that you can do, is rest. And also, it's very important. So if you can sleep for an hour and a half, even up to 3 hours in the afternoon, that's 1 or 2 sleep cycles. A sleep cycle is 90 minutes. Go for it. What would normally not be recommended is at this stage very recommended. And rest, generally speaking, take time to rest. And it's not just about sort of lying down on the couch. It's resting not just the body, but also the mind, the brain. It may be taking very short walks. Don't overdo anything, but doing small things that you enjoy, that may be simple, but that will sort of refresh you, generally speaking, on a deeper level. And time. Time is, of course, the only thing that you absolutely need to recover from burnout. And then beyond burnout, once you have recovered, will burnout have had any sort of after effects on your sleep? Well, if you have looked for proper support to recover, as I suggested, then at some point, sleep will go back to being peaceful and restorative. That's definitely an important part. But one thing you might find hard still, even years later, is waking up early in the morning. Because one of the things that wake us up in the morning is cortisol. It's like an alarm clock for the body. But with burnout, your adrenals have been disrupted, so cortisol doesn't work as well, even if you're back to functioning as normally as possible, if you're feeling much better. Your adrenals may be a little bit scarred, if we can put it this way, just to give you an image. And it's possible that you're finding it hard to wake up early. Please do not push it, do not force it. If possible, as much as possible, adapt your hours to that rhythm. of not starting as early as before. I know it's not always possible, but if it is, absolutely go for it. If it isn't, find a way to recharge more at the weekends. Have short flash naps if you can, up to 5 to maximum 20 minutes in the early afternoon. That will really help. Forcing your rhythm is never a good idea. Adapting to it as much as possible is a great one. And of course, all the advice I gave you about, about resting and recovering before burnout. So the 1 minute breaks, learning to listen in to know where you're at, to know your limits and to respect them, disconnecting before going to bed, all that is still valid. It's really about reconnecting, rearranging, nearly reprogramming in a way, or reorganizing the way you sleep, the way you live, the way you organize yourself, the way you work, so that you start taking into account your true levels of energy. And one thing I did not mention in sort of before burnout, but that is valid for both times, sort of before burnout and after burnout as far as sleep is concerned. If you're not a morning person, do not try to force that rhythm. And if you have to wake up early for work or, to drive children to school or something like that, then make sure you recover from that. Make sure you have time to maybe a short nap, as I was saying, or maybe giving yourself more time to catch up on sleep at weekends. But for instance, deciding that you're going to wake up earlier than before in order to catch up on things you have to do, or to, meditate more or something, is not necessarily a good idea, especially if you're not a morning person. We all have different sleep types, and as I was saying, forcing that is never a good option. So I hope I've given you somewhat of a general picture of what's happening around sleep before, during and after burnout. If you feel you'd like to know more, let me know. I'm very happy to do another episode going in more depth into some of those elements. And if you want to know more about burnout in general, then I will put all the details for my website, etc. in the show notes. And I will see you soon for a new episode of Breakthrough Burnout, the podcast that helps you understand and heal.